Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a lineup construction video for the 2020 Rocket Mortgage Classic. Before I get into the video, I'd like to remind you, like I do all the time, you can watch us in a faster speed. Go ahead, if you're on desktop, drag your mouse over my face, over the screen anywhere. You'll see a gear icon somewhere down here. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed. I recommend 1.5, but if you want to cut the video in half, you can go 2 times speed. On mobile, you'll see that in the top right corner. 3 little dots that kind of make a vertical line. Drill down on that, you'll find playback speed there. I'll also have timestamps in the description so you can get through this video faster or get to the points that you find most interesting. Now, I anticipate this video is going to be a little shorter than typical. We don't have a lot of data for this tournament, so there isn't going to be that much criteria that comes with this tournament. So, let's get right into the spreadsheet and kind of discuss what I will be looking at. Okay, so I have the notes page up. On the notes page, I usually hold the bucket system here. The bucket system is something I usually use when it comes to creating lineups. If you've been with me, you know what it's all about. A little quick description of what it is. It's basically looking at last year's finishing positions as well as last week's finishing positions for all these golfers, lumping them together and kind of seeing which one or how many different types of golfers do well at this golf course, just based off of finishing position. And the reason that I do that is primarily as a golfer, those are your only recent memories. I mean, those are your only memories coming into a golf tournament is how well have I done recently and have I done well at this golf course before? Obviously, maybe you haven't played it before. Therefore, you'd be in the did not play, but sometimes that offers a benefit for not playing a golf course for the first time. So, on the screen right now, you'll see kind of these buckets here. I have top 5 and top 10. I usually mostly look at the top 10, unless the top 5 is like really, there's a lot of disparity in the top 5 from the top 10. But obviously for something like this, I'm gonna just only keep in mind the top 10. Now, we have last week results for last year's tournament because we did have, this tournament was its first year last year. So obviously we had results heading into the tournament. I don't have last year results, obviously, so we can't really go by those numbers, but as you can see, these are the numbers we had for the golfers inside the top 10, which just happens to be the same as the top 5 because we had like 6 people or 5 people that tied for 5th, and that ended up rounding off your top 10. But as you can see, we had 4 golfers who did not play the week before that finished inside the top 10, obviously the top 5 as well. And then the next one was 2 golfers who missed the cut the week before. The Rocket Mortgage Classic did not follow the Travelers Championship like it's doing this year. So this could be a little different, the whole circumstances are different. So it's really difficult to use the bucket system for this particular tournament. But I'm still going to, just because that is my way of creating lineups. That is also my way of providing insight to this tournament. So I'm going to do that. But you can see the percentages of the golfers that have finished, that have a finishing position inside the top 10. 40% of them were golfers who did not play, and then 20%, you get the gist. Now, I did the same thing for last year, and I primarily just took the averages of the last 2 weeks. So I'll throw those up on the screen. Here's the Travelers Championship. When we go down here, we can look at the last year's scores here. We have 27% for did not play, 21% for first to 20. If I go to the RBC Heritage, we had 36% and 30. So when we look at those two, I didn't really perfectly grab the averages. I grabbed what I thought was right. So I had 25% for first to 20, 35% for did not play, and then mix the rest in. And then what I do with these numbers, I go ahead, throw them here. Obviously, if they fall under these buckets, that's what I have them for, or that's what I have them here for. I just predicted that the last year bucket would be golfers who did not play the year before. Gotta make sure that's correct. Yes. So that's how the ones are. The twos are golfers who finished top 20 the year before, and then so forth. But what I do with that then is I typically create 100 lineups. So in 100 lineups, there's 600 positions. I take this percentage over on the notes page, take that, times it, 600 times 0.35, and it will get me a number. I suppose I could bring up my calculator and give you guys that number. So let me go ahead, pull up the 2020. So we have Bryson, who was a last week 3. If I go ahead, look at the notes page again for last week 3, it's 10%. So obviously that's going to be 60, right? And that's where I would get this last week bucket score of 60. Now, it's just a number, honestly. And then I also do the same thing for a last year bucket score. I shouldn't say it's just a number. Basically, it's the likelihood that someone with that bucket score would finish inside the top 10 out of 600 positions. Now, it's not perfect because you can only play Bryson. Like, if you're going to play him in 16 lineups, if you're going to play him, 60 times. Actually, I'm sorry. It's not based off a player. It's just based off of the last week bucket score. So anyone who's a 3 falls under that same category. So we'd only want to play 60 total positions that have a last week 3. Now, I'm not going to hold anybody to that number. I'm also not going to create numbers specifically to that number. What I'm doing is I'm also taking into account their last year bucket score, and then I add those, create an average, and then from this average, then I tier the golfers off. I know a lot of noise that you guys are hearing right now, but the tiers that I go by are by price, by salary. So tier 1 is $8,600 and above. Tier 2 is $8,500 to $7,000. Last week it was $7,100, but if we were to total up all of the numbers in the salary, I wrote it in the notes here. If we were to total them all up, we'd get $1,078,800. And then if we average that by how many golfers are in the field, that ends up being 6,900. So I'm putting everyone under 6,900 as the lowest tier. That's my low tier. Mid tier is everyone from 7,000 to 85, and then my top tier is 86 and above. So then with the numbers that I have calculated over here, basically I'll take all the way to Jason Day for tier 1. I'll add these numbers up. And see how I'm trying to remember how I think it's 135 divided by 600 times 200. Is that correct? No, that's not right. Wow, why can't I think of... Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I am so sorry. It is this number divided by the total number within tier 1 times 200. So this total here is 2239.5. So if I was to go 135 divided by 2239.5, we'll get this number. I'll times that by 200. And you might be like, why is that 200? Well, I have it at 200 because I am going to dedicate 200 lineups. If I'm creating 100, so if I scroll down, I already have some placed here, so don't mind that. But if I am creating 100 lineups right down to this black bar, these 2 columns are dedicated just for tier 1 golfers. So I'm going to put 200 tier 1 golfers in there. And then of those tier 1 golfers, this is how many times this is a baseline. This isn't a for sure thing, and you're going to see how I create these lineups going forward. But this is a baseline. So Bryson, although he's kind of the favorite, I'm only going to play him in 12 lineups out of 100. So obviously 12% of my lineups. 20% is going to go towards Webb. 20% is going to go towards Tyrrell Hatton. And these are going to be exchange, they're going to be mixed in, and I'll show you how that's done later. But then, of course, I do the same thing for the mid-tier, and I do the same thing for the low tier. Now, that's just to get my baseline. So essentially what that's going to look like, I actually did it over here. So I don't have this filled in yet, but what I can do, I'll show you. If you follow along, if you count that, you have rows 2 through 13. That's 12 lineups. And obviously, the number that I was going by. It's 12 with Bryson, 20 for Webb. So basically, then I go down, I enter Webb 20 times, and so forth. And that's going to be all for my tier 1. My tier 2 is going to be the same way, my mid-tier golfers. So Doc Redman, I'm playing him in 5 lineups. If we went down to Doc Redman, you can see 5 lineups. I do the same thing with Lucas Glover, so there's 6 lineups. And then what I will do from here is, I know it kind of looks a little busy with all this information right here that you can see kind of leaking into each other. But what I'll do is, for all of the tier 1 golfers, I did not notice that this is what happened. So there we go. So basically from here, Jason Day isn't actually to 200, and that's just how the math ends up happening for that, and it's totally fine. 198 lineups. What I'm going to do is, Google Sheets has an awesome function called randomize range. So I'll randomize the range. I could do it once. You could do it how many times, however you want. Like, it's just going to continuously randomize the range. It's not going to make a big deal of where they are or anything like that. I could just stop it right there, and that's fine. Now what I'll do is I'll go down to row 101, which means this would be 100 lineups, since my first row is covered by headers. I'll go down here, just hit shift and then left click. I'll go Control X, which is cut, and I will paste that all the way up here. So boom, we'll have these golfers here, and I'll show you how to find duplicates later. Not gonna worry about it right now. But now I have almost a nice even 100 lineups, and they're all placed. So tier 1 has been covered in those 2 columns. I'll do the same thing over here in the mid tier. So tier 2, I'll just randomize the range a bunch of times and say we'll go with 4. I don't know why 4, but whatever. This one's gonna be a little different. I have more than 100, so I'm gonna have to select up to 100. So that's 101, and again I'll Control X, which is cut, and then paste. So now that is covered right there. And then I have these guys remaining, which I could fill over here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait to see what the rest of this looks like. And then tier 1 goes a little bit lower. And the reason why it goes a little bit lower is because when I look at tier 1, you can see a lot of the numbers. Actually, this isn't updated. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, here we go. So Ryan Armour and down. So you see a bunch of guys at 0s, and that's fine. I'm probably going to play some of these guys. I'm not going to totally fade them. But then you'll see this column here, which kind of stands for stats. So I looked at certain stats, and basically here I'll put the filter on. I first looked at, and I'm going to hide this information. I first looked at, was it course history? Yeah, okay. So I looked at course history. I gave everyone a +1 over in this column for course history, the top 20 golfers of course history. Did the same thing with recent form. George McNeil was a late ad, so I'll add one now. So I gave another +1. And then I went to POA. So top 20 golfers in POA, gave them a +1. I didn't do this year's POA stats, but then I came over here to tee to green. And obviously we have some golfers that do not have enough PGA starts to have stats. So make sure you are looking at these golfers and determining if you want to play them or not. I'm going to go ahead and just take out the blanks. So now we have top 20 in stats. So again, they get a +1 in this column. I guess I can hide this stuff right here since we kind of already talked about it. And then again, same thing applies for off the tee. Or did I do off? I did not do off the tee. I did approach. So we went with approach, and then I believe greens and regulation. So I +1 in all of those columns. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4 for overall POA, 5, 6. So there were 6 total categories that I +1 in this column. So going back to those tier 3 golfers, if I go and sort this by salary now and actually open up the rest of the spreadsheet since I filtered some. If I scroll down, again, open the salaries. I'm going to find golfers in this bottom tier that have quite a bit of numbers. So what I did is I just added whatever their baseline was plus those numbers. And that's all I did to get that. That way I can play a little bit more of these guys. But for the most part, I'm not really caring about how much I play someone. Now, like someone like Lonto Griffin, I want to play a lot of because he's just a talented golfer. Same with Matthew Wolff. They're pretty low price guys considering that Lonto's won, or both these guys have won on tour before. So like it is, I would want to play more of those golfers. Same goes with like Matt Wallace. If I open this up a little bit further, we could see that he is the 49th ranked golfer in the world. So you can see that here. That's pretty low. I mean, Andrew Putnam is a 72nd. So these guys also down here, Danny Willett, 36th ranked golfer in the world. These golfers down here, I kind of want to keep an eye on because if they do have a world, a golf ranking under 300, I definitely want to play them. But anyways, that's what these numbers over here indicate. That's why I have more than 100. So again, line 101, row 101 is my 100th lineup. I'm going to have a little bit more. So I have 33 more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this as is. We'll come back to it. But this is one way of creating a lineup. We'll come back to it because I'm going to put it into my lineup construction page. And we're going to see how many duplicates there are and so forth. But for what I have on the screen right now, these are all pairings of golfers playing together. And I can go ahead and pull this back up. We don't have to look at that. But in column Y, I have game. It's kind of like the British equivalent of saying like tee time or foursome or, group, basically. So it's an easier way to find which golfers are golfing together. So we have Bryson, Patrick Reed, and Hideki Matsuyama golfing together. Webb Simpson is going with Ricky Fowler, and then last year's defending champion, who is Nate Lashley. Tyrrell Hatton is golfing with Sung Jae Im and Brandt Snedeker, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Brandt Snedeker. So those three groups I like a lot. I mean, I like the golfers that are in them already. And I want to create lineups around golfers who are golfing together. If you've seen me on, or if you follow me on Twitter, I talk about this quite a bit. And if you watch a lot of these videos, I talk about it quite a bit. I think it's important. And I think that's something we should look at when it comes to creating lineups. So basically, these are going to be handmade lineups. I could use that other method that I was talking about and create lineups that way. But for the most part, this is how I'm going to create these lineups. I don't know if I really care to get into the handmade lineups. I'm just gonna start them this way. So what I'm going to do is throw this off to the side and keep it for reference for when I put in those 100 players, because I don't want to make this too long for you guys. I kind of want to keep this video short. We're at 20 minutes, so that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is grab the golfers that I already basically created all of this for. I hope it does not error out. Chances are it's going to, just because all the formulas that I have in here. Okay, so we can fix that, no problem. Don't worry about it. We'll go from here and just interesting. Huh. Why is it not working? Oh. There you go. It's been fixed, except for there. Still not fixed? Okay. Okay. So, obviously you can see we have some duplicates in here. We got to go find those golfers and then switch them out. So this is what I'll do. I'll just try to randomize this, and there we go. Got rid of that duplicate. We have another one right here. We can go and randomize this. Perfect. Get rid of that duplicate. Looks like we got two Hidekis together. We'll go ahead and do that. Works perfect. Who do we have? Alex Noren. So we'll randomize that. Get rid of that. Adam Hadwin. Jason Day. Sometimes it takes a while because the computer system is in itself trying to randomize this. I could just easily copy and paste, but it just, for the most, oh my God, come on. For the most part, it's faster doing it the way I was doing it. I mean, you saw it in the beginning. There we go. Tyrrell Hatton. Joseph Bramlett. There we go. There we go. We don't have any more duplicates. So now what I can do is look at all these prices, and actually I'm going to grab all of these golfers. I already have some pasted up here. You could almost think of this as kind of like a what is it called? Those little palettes, like a paint palette basically, of golfers that I'm going to select from. So again, I'll go up to 100 and post that over here. So these are kind of like the remaining golfers I have left, and I'm going to try to play them where the salaries fit. Okay, so there we go. We're cut off at 100. I have one whole column available for me to create lineups by myself. And this I really like. This is what I did last week, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun doing this. I can tell you right now, I'm going to have to switch some of these up because obviously the price doesn't allow me to make this happen. So 65 and 69. What I can do is try to grab a golfer down here. I don't know which one is the cheapest or whatever. But I can try. So we already have a Chesson Hadley. So I can put Ryan Bram, who is min price. That's fine. We'll keep him there. Totally works. And then I'll get rid of him. Make sure that I'm not seeing that name anymore. Cameron Tringali, perfect. He fits just the same. Now I can get rid of Cameron. We put Jimmy Walker somewhere where we see another 6K price, 6-7. Does that work? It sure does. And get rid of Jimmy Walker now. Also, some of this, I'm looking at the color coordination. I don't really want to see five of these golfers together. So I think what I'm going to do is just change them around. But I can't. All right, we're going to leave it then. I guess this is how it's supposed to be. But yeah, anyways, that's what I would do. So 6,600, can I put... No, Cheston's going to be a little expensive. I don't know if I can put Tringali here, can I? Sure can. So we got another Tringali gone. And basically, this is how I'm going to bring all these lineups together. Now, I'm also going to pay attention to see, you know, of these golfers, when I find someone here. So Webb is playing with Ricky and Nate Lashley. So I have 7,900 left. I obviously can't play Ricky Fowler in that lineup, but I could play Nate Lashley. It's going to leave a lot of money on the table. But I could put Nate Lashley there. I can also, again, look for all of my Webb lineups and see if I could fit a Ricky Fowler. I think Ricky Fowler's 9,100, so I don't think I can fit him there. It's a little bit more than 9,300. But either way, I can go and try to find, or of the Ricky Fowler lineups, can I put a Webb Simpson? Unfortunately, I can't in that one. But yeah, I'm going to try to fit these lineups in. Or whenever I see those players. Same applies for Bryson DeChambeau and Patrick Reed. Now, Bryson being the price he's at, I doubt I'm going to actually find a lineup with him in it that's going to allow me to do that. Which is fine. We don't have to. I want to for the most part. Yeah, I'm just not seeing any of them, so I will go through it and look to try to find some of these golfers. I mean, I can just right away say I can play Webb Simpson right there, and that's a pretty solid lineup. I like that lineup quite a bit. Anyways, I can do this. It's pretty fun for me to go about and do that. Ooh, I didn't see I had a I can't play Cameron Tringali there. So I mean, I'm gonna have to obviously add one more down here because I didn't play that. Cameron Percy work there? He sure does. Anyways, again, that's how I'm gonna create these lineups. Like I said, I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun for me. I could have cut and pasted these, by the way. If for some of those guys, some of you yelling like, dude, you can just do it that way. You're right, I can, because it's not going to mess anything up. Here we go. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot of fun. I like creating lineups this way, and it also gives me a little variation, a little variety. I don't know who I'm really playing together, but I do know of the golfers I'm playing the adequate ownership that I want based off of the bucket system, which is exactly how I want to go about doing this. And for those wondering why I did the top 20 stats, if I went to the 2019 DK page, I did the same thing over here. We see a lot of golfers up here that were top 20 in the stats that I told you about. We don't see, like, I mean, Hideki he was top 20 in 5 of those categories, and then Joaquin Niemann was top 20 in 4 of those categories. Rest of them are 2s and 1s and 3s. And again, I'm not paying attention to how many 2s and 3s and whatnot that I have, but I like those golfers, you know, for the lower 6K range, throwing them in there. I mean, your top tier guys, everyone is at least once in the top 20 category. The mid tier range, you don't see a lot, but you know, a Wes Roach or a Brian Stewart could find their way inside the top 10, top 20. And that would be someone to look at. But yeah, you want to look at some of these golfers down here, maybe pair up their, sorry if you can hear that alarm going off. But yeah, you could pair some of these golfers, you know, pair the stat with their ranking, their world golf ranking in the world. You know, like maybe you get on someone like Josh Teeter just because he's got one stat in the top 20 in this field, and then his ownership or his world golf ranking is 235. Could do the same thing with Jimmy Walker if you feel trusting of that, or Russell Knox. I really don't care. I'm not a huge Russell Knox backer. Matt Wallace is 49th in the world, and because he doesn't play on the PGA Tour enough, he doesn't have enough stats. But yeah, you can do that with any of these guys. So as I scroll through here, you can obviously pause and go through it and figure it out. But I'm actually going to leave the video at that. This is way shorter than any of the lineup construction videos I've created in the past. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section. I feel like it's a little combination of we haven't played here enough times to figure out, you know, to really deep dive into the bucket system. And for the most part, I've gone through this enough into my other videos that if you do have any questions as to how this pertains, first of all, feel free to reach out. I don't want you to feel like you can't, or I don't want you to. I definitely want you to. But I feel like for the most part, I have a lot of this covered. And if you watch the preview video, we would have went through the stats that were important. I'm not too concerned about shots gained stats. And again, if you've ever been with me, you know I don't really care all that much. But we're going to see how this works out. And I'm going to continue creating lineups later today with the rest of the golfers that I have here, or I should say here in this pool. And I should get some pretty unique lineups, I would think, or I feel like. So I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully, you know, this gave you a little idea of how to create different lineups. And if you do spreadsheet, you saw it didn't really take that long. I did have some of these already preset, but for the most part, you know, it doesn't take long to copy and paste those ownership projections or ownership levels that many times. So, yeah, let me know what you think about this. If you have any questions, reach out. But I'm going to end the video there. Thank you for watching, guys. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And good luck this week. Okay, bye.